So previously I had started a tutorial about creating your own CMS um, using the likes of OpenNext and Drizzle and so on, D1 database using Cloudflare. But this time, rather than using that approach, I think we're going to use a different approach to doing this. So what we are going to do is we're going to get right into it. First and foremost, first thing that I'll do is set up my project. I'm going to use beta TanStack to create a template for my project that I'm going to start with. So you're going to head up to, it's called beta TanStack, or you can just actually Google it. It should be sorry, I used plus TanStack. So here it is available. Then you head into builder and name your project. I'm going to name it Ferrous. Since this project is supposed to be to build my company's website itself. So we're going to, so after naming it, we're going to pick a TanStack framework. That's the framework I'm going to use for the web part of it, because TanStack kind of mitigates the need of you trying to deal with all the other parts, and it's not like we're going to use TanStack itself for our back end part of it. What you're going to do is going to have a back end that is separate from our front end, so that it's different, since we're not only going to have our project have the website itself, but we're going to build other applications onto it. That's why I wanted to have a separate backend from the front end. But you can still use Next.js if you want for it, but I'll pick TanStack because of how it's structured. I like the way the routes are built. It's less complicated than Next.js, which requires you to use client or use server side of it. So TanStack is our framework we're going to use. We're not going to have any native part of this. Since we are not developing an application, we are developing the web part of it. Then we shall later on develop certain applications, because my company deals in a multifaceted of things. We are basically, Ferrous in my concept is a practical research company that deals both in technological things and theoretical related parts of it. So nothing to here. We are going to use other frameworks when we get to it. For right now, we are developing the website and then the backend side of things. Honor is the backend. Is the I'm sorry, I've been having a lot of sinuses, but our backend we're going to use Honor due to how fast it is, and I like how structured it is compared to Express and compared to the Next.js API and so on. We would have used Convex, but the problem with Convex is it engulfs you into their ecosystem itself, regardless of them having a way for you to get out of it. It's still enclosed into a pay-as-you-use service, which is something I dislike about most of the things. I don't like something that I have to pay as I use, because I might not have the money to actually pay it at that moment, and I still don't have anyone to actually, I don't have clients at all, so there's really nothing for me to be paying for it. There's no point in me paying for it. Then we shall use ORPC, type safety, and also how fast it kind of works with it. I personally wouldn't like it. I would like to use the Honor type, the Honor types themselves. But I was thinking of it deeply, and I mean, we can use the holotypes themselves. Now that I think of it, I think let's ignore the ORPC or the TRPC, one of whichever you want to use, because the RPC that Honor provides is way better. The database type is going to be SQL, since we are going to use D1 Cloudflare D1 database, which we are going to select here. And then our web deployment is supposed to go to Rango, on which we are going to deploy it to Cloudflare. Same thing with our server, we are going to deploy it to Cloudflare. And then this is the part where I like the better TanStack, is because it provides me all this to scaffold my project that I'm going to use. So the database setup, I have D1 database, and we have the web deployment, the server deployment, and then we have the authentication, which we're going to use better Auth. For payments, I'm not going to use Polar because Polar does not support my country at all, so there's really no point in me using them. They're very, I mean, they're still limited to certain areas, like which is one of the issues that I find with most of the payment platforms, is that they are limited to which countries they can support, and my country is not among them. And my country is not among the countries that it supports. But it would have been the better alternative to use. Same thing with Stripe, doesn't support my country, so we're going to have to use other methods to deal with this. Yep, it's not listed here. So here it is, it's not listed in here. So that's, I would have used Polar, but that's the part where it's as useless as it comes. Then we are going to use Turbo Repo for our project, to scaffold our project with multiple applications inside it, as well as packages of their own. We are going to use Turbo Repo, and then what else? For formatting and linting, let's use let me pick out that. We shall structure our own. So when it comes to the scaffold here, I wouldn't intend us to have actually an example in the first place. It wouldn't be. And I will also have our GitHub available, and then I would want us to install this. So not to take any more time, I'm going to cd into where I'm going to have my project. Okay, projects. Okay, and I'm going to build this. I'm using Burn because, well, I find Burn more interesting than the others, and I kind of just like it better than the others. That's the only explanation I can give you. So here we go. We are going to build everything from here. Okay, for now I'm going to first go into the light mode for meanwhile time. So what we're going to do is we're going to restructure everything to put it all together. And since I already have my repository, the problem is it's going to be private, so you're going to have to build your own and follow that. And yeah, so yeah, that's mostly what I'm going to do. So let's wait for our scaffold to complete. My greatest fear about the recording I'm having is how large it tends to come out. And so we are going to use shadcn for our theming, and then we're also going to get the shadcn talk part of it. All this will be in the links below. I'll link them below for you to actually follow up on. This is taking quite longer than I expected it to do, but no worries. So for our theming, we're going to use this, and to be honest, I already like this. So I like this. To be honest, this is what I want. I like this theming, so this is what I'll go with right now. Yep. Yep, this is what I'll go with. It's settled. Oh yeah, I think I'd made this theming by myself, so that's why it's under custom. But you can make your own theming. I'll select from the available ones, but since I already have this available, this is the theming I'll go with along for the ride. Then we shall use shadcn for most of these. We could have used how is it called, Next UI, I think. Oh, they renamed them to Hero UI. So we are going to cd into our project, and then open our Visual Studio Code to get into coding. I usually leave my Visual Studio Code in a small view because I don't know, for some reason it doesn't take up a lot of space, and should disable this. So here we are, our project. We have our main project in our mono repository, which has all these, and then turbo repo to deal with all the other parts, and we are going to create this package part of it, and going to add in toolings to this. And I would like to have a consistent I would prefer to have something consistent when it comes to my packages. So I'm going to put this there, and then I'm going to add the React related packages. So this, what I'm doing is basically creating packages for my this will be basically packages for my application. These packages will be consistent, whereby I do not technically need to install the packages for each, and everything will be fine. so that I can have a consistent package for it. I'll go with this for React. So we shall have catalog for React, which will have to have a consistency. So all I do is bring this here, and it will be consistent with all of them. So I'll have React DOM and React have the same consistency within them, and I can add more packages that I would want to be consistent. But I think most especially when it comes to React itself, I think it should be consistent in all the other parts, including the React type. Now that I think about it, I think this would take a lot of our time into. Let's forget it. We shall do it some other time to come. Toolings. So I'm going to add here toolings. Let's ignore what I was setting up, but I think the reason why I'm going to ignore it is because it will take a lot of our time. Then here we're going to add type script config and handle our TypeScripts to have basically a predefined TypeScript package for us, so that we don't have to redefine it for each and every single part of our project. And here we shall go. So TypeScript config. This shouldn't be modular. It's as pointless as it can be. So we shall have the base of it. The base TypeScript for the entirety of our project, and then we shall have here our part which will deal with our UX, which is supposed to be consistent. Rather than us rewriting the UX every single time, we shall have one part for the UX, basically one package that handles the entire UX of our project. Now we shall also add here tailwind config. This will handle our tailwind packages and our tailwind config, so that we don't need to basically rewrite all of this every single time in each of our projects. And then we shall create a globals.css to handle all the CSS that we shall have in our project. Now to head back into this cd, into toolings, and we start with our tailwind. Now for our TypeScript, I'm going to add some, I'm going to remove this from, okay, it should remove this from here and put it as the main dependency and bump it up. Then I'll have TypeScript which is going to be 59 point something. It's taking longer to load for some reason. I don't know why I had to even refresh that, because I don't use that at all. Okay, so it's 592. Copy this and keep it consistent here. And something here. So it will be the div dependency of our entire project. And we shall add on other things to come. So right now I'm going to head into Tailwind. And since we are doing this for a Vite project, yes, our project is in Vite, regardless of how much I hate Vite. But our project is in Vite. I think it's more convenient to use it. So we are going to use Vite, and as you can see, our project structure. I know you will come to like the approach, but here let's set up everything. And here I'm going to, since I'm using ban, I'm going to use ban add, and we are going to add, sorry, we didn't actually need to add that there. Okay, I think I forgot to undo the catalog part of it. I didn't want to add it, but for the sake of just doing it at once, I think I'll add it. And ban does have an example to it. Ban does have example of how to handle that, the catalog part of it. And you know, it also has the part where it has its own categories for each. So sorry. So let's handle that. We are using 19.11, and then same thing we shall use for React DOM. Sorry, 19.11, and that will be consistent with our structure here. React DOM and React shall be consistent with 19.9991, 19.11, sorry, stay that consistent. And then our TypeScript, we want it to be as well consistent on all of them, so we shall use 5.9.2 and change this to catalog. Same thing I'll do for table, so that we can have the consistency in it. Okay. So that every package is easily managed from here. We can manage them from here, but the problem with this is you cannot know when to update what, because it doesn't really show you anything. And it has the example how it's done, and you know how you can use it, and blah blah blah. Everything is here. So that's about it. Okay. As we continue, we're going to set up this. Our UX is not yet there, so we're going to set up our tailwind, and here we're going to have dependency, which we are going to use peer dependencies, because our project needs to have tailwind CSS installed in it by itself, so that we use peer dependency, and we don't really need to install the tailwind CSS every single time. Then I'll also put it under catalog, so that our tailwind has a consistent version, which this is v4.1.6 I think, of 5. Let's confirm from here. 13. So it's 13, and we should do the same thing here to win of it at 13, and then there is tailwind merge, which we shall need this available. Shall need this actually. Tailwind merge and tailwind animation CSS. We shall also add this to it. Let's put it as div dependencies. Then for tailwind merge, okay, that's a correct version. Then this one here, we need to bump it up. Let's bump this up and this, and just carry this as it is and add it to our catalog, so that we just basically don't really stress ourselves with versioning this, that have a consistent usage in all our packages, because in whatever project package we are creating, it's going to be consistent. Okay, same thing here. Going to catalog, this as well. So I'm going to install, tap installed to the whole project, and one package was removed. I don't know which one. Okay, and then we can set up our tailwind part. We have put at import tailwind CSS. Which is this basically. But same thing, we're going to also import our tailwind. Wait, I did have an example for this. We can actually take the example from here. Oh, hopefully my sinuses do not act up. Yes, so we can take concepts from here. TW, this is, we don't need all of that. We actually need this. Yes, this is the example I was looking for. So we add this here, and we have our project basically mostly, you know, structured for us. So actually we can copy the whole of it as it is, and we have it right here. So basically it's fully structured for us. But there is one issue with Tailwind 4 v4 that I noticed. But before we go there, let's customize our themings and introduce the theme that we created from here. I'm going to copy it, just look through it and see. Okay, inline and the others are basically taken out. Okay, and for body, letter spacing, just leave it as it is. There, dark and root. So light, dark, and then the theming themselves. And then here we have body, and we have an outer body, which is really a waste of space. We can just easily place this inside here. Since this is not a Tailwind thing, it's a CSS part of it, we can put it there. Then another thing I like to do is make sure to hide the scroll bar, because, well, I don't really like it. And we use hidden, so we are going to use our CSS. Here we are setting up our project itself, and there's one thing that I noticed that Tailwind doesn't do, and we are going to borrow some ideas from this project here. So I'm going to take some ideas from this, which is number one, we are going to take the container part of it. We're going to take our container in order for us to use the container utility in our code very well. I think this is a much better example for us to use the Tailwind container, which has margin inline and then the padding for itself, and then it defines this, which is an auto breakpoint. It picks all the others. We could have defined the rest of it here, but really there is no point in it. And then for the large part, we also do this like that for the larger screens. And then the next thing is the no scroll. These are custom utilities that I use in CSS in Tailwind to simplify my work. I like to have a part in my code where I add no CSS so that it's easier for me to edit the other parts of it. So it's scroll width as no, and so on. And I think we mostly have this done. When it comes to the vid, okay, yeah, we need to add. Let's just copy some of this as it is. So we shall add this information. For version, just leave it as null. There was really no point in adding it. Then for private, whatever you wish. The license, not important. You can remove it if you want. You can leave it on as, whatever, depending if you ever wish to publish it, anything. And also the publish config is also something not important. The side effect, I really don't know what it does, but when I tried it some time back without it, it refused to allow the configurations until I added the side effect part of it, and it's actually not configured in the script itself, the package JSON itself, because the others you can hover over and see what they do, but the side effect is not there. So I just add it for the sake of adding and not knowing what it does. Then we would want to export this we would want to export our project because it's basically a library itself. So we are exporting our globals, because here export, we export our globals as CSS as the main root of it. The main root is going to be our globals.css. I removed this part because there's really no point in it. We could add our post CSS into it in case you're using in case you're going to use a Next.js application. Let's add that. We're going to add our post CSS and its configurations as well. In case you're going to use the post CSS with that means you're going to use Next.js. Yeah, you might need this. You definitely will need it, not even just might need it, whereby when you export it, you're going to import it as this. You're going to import it as post CSS in your project and use it there. But since this is okay, export default, and we shall need to name it to so we shall name it to post CSS. So when you import it from your side as an import, and you give it that name post CSS to replace your post CSS that is configured on its own. And then we shall have since this was Tailwind, yeah, so we have a Tailwind config, something like that, Tailwind config, and then you just on your Next.js part, and then you just export it, export default as this, like this. This is how it will work on your side. This is how you use it on your side. But for anyone following the project with TanStack, which I would advise or advise you to take, I will also add another part for the next part of it, but this one we're going to stick to, yes, it's already predefined here, so there's really no point in us also predefining it again here. Just remove this. As we're exporting it, we already predefined it as post, so when you're importing it, just follow the other method and it will handle the imports themselves. Yep, we shall need it as a dependency. We shouldn't need the post CSS part as a dependency itself. Put it as a dependency. But since we are not using it in our Vite, and it's as important as a used toilet tissue, so there's really no point in me going on with it. But I think that's it. The peer dependency, we could have used it as a peer dependency, but nah. It'll be fine from here. That's it. I think now we're just going to install our dependency, so that the changes are there. Okay, we have that done. Now come to the Tailwind config. This is one of the parts that I am most conflicted about, because it's quite difficult to set up it's difficult to set it up, to be honest with you. Like, it's one of the most annoying part about this is setting it up. So what I'm going to do is just copy what is available, and since this is our Vite test config.json, we're going to use this that's inside and just repeat it the other side, so we seem like we're doing something useful. JSON does hate the comments themselves for some reason. So what we do is, since we have it as this, we're going to reference from one of my projects again. Actually, now that we're going to reference from someone else's project, and I have types, type config, and here we just need to see the reference. Okay, file private and so on. So and that is it. So we copy this and we add it to this project as a div dependency, because, well, it's mostly a div dependency, and reference it as a workspace dot slash. Now the reason why this is happening, it's showing us that there is a version, is because there is someone there who is taking up all these names. Now we're going to rename it to Ferrous dot slash type, so that it doesn't reference from the one that's already available in the repository itself and the online repositories themselves. And this shouldn't be here. We shall copy this and take it this side here. It will remain inside here. So what we should do is remove all this and then extends, not exclude. We shall have it extend our at Ferrous slash, we shall have it extend Ferrous slash type config. This is all setting up our project to get into developing our application itself. And then we shall copy this here. Ta-da! And we have that covered for us, and let's install this so it gets installed. So that's installed. Same thing I'm going to do with this, rename it to Ferrous so that we don't have that disturbance. And for it, we're going to install it as more of a div dependency, because I mean it's for development purposes, and since Tailwind keeps changing, it's not Tailwind CSS is not what goes there. They are generated CSS. That is what is provided when the application is running. So we'll have it there, the Tailwind CSS config, and copy this, and we shall head into our project for the first time, remove the rest of this, and then add import. Going to import this, add it there. So for now that is settled. Install that again. Okay, we have our Tailwind and everything configured. Now we are heading, mostly everything configured. This, I think it's fine for me. I don't want to repeat it or at any time or change it for any reason. And then we shall have our CSS part of it. I did see the problem with this pre-configured script is, you will see what the problem is when I do the pre-configuration. Let me just copy it as it is, and internal packages, internal config, don't really need to so we have this as that, and first thing we should do under our div dependency, and then we should also have our div dependency, sorry, which we shall have ferrous slash let's speed up the process. TypeScript or workspace slash that, and install that. Oh, we repeated the name ferrous, so it wouldn't find it in our workspace. That basically Burn just picks already the cooked version of this, so it doesn't have to repeat every single time reinstalling the same thing every single time. So it just picks it from the current version, it checks if there's a new version and picks the current version. So that simplifies our work. And since this is going to be a library that's going to be used by our side, we're going to have the tsconfig.json, and as you remember, we extend ferrous slash internal config.json. So we extend that. Let's copy the name so that we are certain about that. .json. Sorry about that, I'm having a lot of sinuses bothering me. Version 0.0.0, or else don't add it, doesn't really matter at all. It's an internal package, there's really no point for you to add that. And then we shall have our source directory, we're still going to take some idea just to speed up this process. We're going to still take other ideas from the available work that I already have among my projects. Okay, so back here, so we're going to include the source directory. We wanted to include our source directory. The problem is, I'm afraid that this will mess up this. But for the sake of argument, let's just try it like that. We shall have some DOM in it. React.js. Okay, let's see. So it's taking React. And since we copied this idea from here, let's see how they went along with it. Let's copy this as it is. and remove this from what we added, and we shall have an error definitely. That one there, I'm predicting it. And let's take ideas from this, copy this, bring it along, remove that, take some ideas from this, bring it along here, and then we shall have our exports here. For our main export, we shall export it from source index.ts. That's our main export. And we can reference from our package itself. Same thing I did, and let's add also the types here. Let's add these. They don't really matter since we're exporting them as types, but since they're internal tools, we can still use them. Index.ts. The reason I added that index.ts in order for us to export these together, to export everything at once. So here we go, and we shall have our lib part of it that will have our utility, which is this. The TypeScript merge part of it that is going to be reused in our application lib utils util.ts. Let me treat utils the ts, and we need to install this. So we're going to copy from this package in order for us not to have to rewrite everything all together, and take the concepts from here, copy this as it is, and then remove this, recopy this back here, and delete this. We have this, and we totally forgot to have our type have a consistent base, but for our types we're going to have a peer dependency, not meta. Okay. Okay, so let's have it consistent to be available for both 18 and 19, but as well as our Zod to be both 3 and v4. Then for our TanStack React route, you'll see where we shall use it. For TanStack parts of it, we shall have it here. This is okay. And our TypeScript there, then ban, then our type config TypeScript. Since we already have it predefined for us. Okay. Then our dependencies. So we should take next theme. The Sona, we don't really need to take it because it won't work. I did try, but it won't work. It will throw an error. Then we should take the other two, Then let's also add our Tailwind CSS. And we shall have it as within the bounds of v4. We shall have it within the bounds of v4. And also we shall need the class variation authorization, which we have already used in our utility class. It has never been updated. Then this we shall take the tabular icons, because it has a lot of the table icons has a lot of it has a large pack set that doesn't only consist of just icons, but it has brands as well, from Google, so on and so on, which we shall use. So that's why I'll pick it mostly, and let's use it here. We put it as a peer dependency so that we don't need to install it by ourselves, so that we don't install it and it's installed in our consumer package itself. So bring it here and just leave it there. You don't really need it to always pick this helps it pick the latest. Then this is for relative to the relative package that it is relative to the project itself. I hope so. Let's install that and move back, head back, and this time we are cd to our packages, to UX. The reason we are doing this is because now we need to set up our shard CN, and we come here, copy that. This setup process is already available here. We could have used this, but the problem with this is pretty much you have to stick to it. It's not modular. So I'm going to delete that, and let's go to manual. So in manual you add this information, which you copy and install to add them, which we already added right here. When we copied everything, we have that will merge this, and that. So we added this, and then now we are going to copy and add this here. This sets up your entire project so that it's modular. The reason why we are starting with this rather than going into development itself, it sets up everything. So we shall allow this as true for React server-side components. Config no. Then the CSS part of it, we're going to add it as no, as none, and then we shall use this because we shall need to add our Tailwind config to it. Workspace, our Tailwind workspace, just install that. Okay, we have that available, and as you can see from, let's see here, the config reference takes the reference from our toolings, and then the CSS is unused CSS. come back here and use CSS, and then this one step back which gets us to project, and then one more step which takes us to the main root of our projects, and then we get to WebTS. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out why this person did this, and okay, let's use the PMP. Okay, this person is using the v3, which their config is best there, and we can put that as null. Let's use this. So we have globals.css. We could have left it as null. Anyway, forget about it. Use it as that, and then now comes to components themselves. And since we don't have a predefined part of this path to this, as we go back and reference why this person, because we're following this person's example. Okay, so we go back here, and for this we shall use source since we don't have this predefined, and this as tail. Same thing here, but we remove the UI. Same here, same thing here, and then for the icons, which it won't do by itself. Some few components do have the tabular icons, but and let's reinstall this. And then we shall have this named as utils, and then reference it from here. Okay, there is no use to re-reference it since we already have it available here. We're just going to export it. So exported, and now comes the part of us adding. Let's now start testing if our example is actually correct. Let's start with the badge ban and come back to our project, run this. This will take us long setup, that's why most of the times I would like to copy this and put it under div dependencies to speed up the process. So version 3.1. So do this because it's basically installing the cn latest CLI. So why not just install the CLI itself for our sake, and then remove the part latest here, and then there it completes the work for us. Simplifies the entire work for us, and there we have our short CN. And now comes the part where I was a little worried about it, which is this part here. We shall need to actually set it by ourselves every single time we add a component itself. We shall need to set it for ourselves. So we're going to add the button and input. Actually, let's do this. Add, and then we can select here. We shall need an avatar, we shall need a button, we shall need a card checkbox. In our project we shall also have a dialog, and then an input, a label, navigation menu. We shall need just a part of it, not the whole of it, but we take it as it is. A select, separator, skeleton. So now we shall not add it because it won't work here for some weird reason. It will need to be on the project side. The switch, text area, a toggle, tooltip, and toggle group. We don't really need it right now. And let's add all of them. So after adding all of them, what we should do is come here, copy this as it is, come to our search bar, enter it as it is, and then 2 dots, and replace, sorry, we can't say replace all of them because it's going to actually replace the other one as well. So we go on replacing one by one, and there we are. Oh, we did make a mistake actually. So we took this as it is, and it kind of backfired on us where it removed all the other parts of it. Then we shall come to the part to replace the these other parts. I don't know why it did this, why we got this error in some of them. Okay, I think we are done. Now comes the part whereby we need to replace our lucid icons with our with our table React icons. So for table React icons, they start with the name icon check, a check icon. Then if we remove that and replace it here, so for close icon, because the X icon is the one being used as close, but this part has the X brand already. So for close icon, it's called X actually, so it was really no point in me coming up having this. So we come to where it's used. Where has it been used? Here we replace it to icon X, because the first part why I imported it directly is because it wasn't yet initialized in our project and it wouldn't have auto imported like this. So come to the next one. hope this was the correct one, because let me try to confirm. Yes, it was down. Okay, that was correct. And then we come to this part here. I need to import this. Check. Up. Then we remove this. And we start with icon check. So this is down. Check. Up. And then down again. Down. And we have everything set up for us right now. And what I'm going to first test is the build. Yep, we have it well set up, and we shall clean it up. So, yep, we got that cleaned up, and let's also reinstall. Okay, now we come to our main project, the main course of our project, and we're going to have to remove all of this and then copy this loader and let's place it among our UX components. And then we are going to load the icon to, and then we're going to remove it from export default to export const in order for it to be more of a reusable component and easier to share it. Then come here, add it there, and what we're going to do, should cn components slash asterisk and then everything that is ts. So this basically means the asterisk is to just any name that has ts ending with ts will be imported under UX. So it will be Ferrous UX. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Component. Actually, let's do this. Yep, I think this makes more sense. So at every import that imports comes from here, but also this kind of makes it redundant. Let's use it as compose. Ferrous UX compose. Okay, we have that, and then we shall have features to build our reusable features, and one of the first one is going to be header. Header, which is basically our toolbar, so that we can have it reusable. So this will be it. It will be reusable. React FC. And we shall have our props to it here. Let's name it props. There's really no point in giving it other names. And that's about it. Okay. And here I'm going to also export it on its own so that we can have a fragmented part of it. Features / anything inside features will be brought out under source / features / dot anything that has TSX in it will come under features. Okay, so let's add our library into our project. It's right below here. There's really no point. As long as you put it under dependencies, it should work out well. Workspace, and that should be fine. Now next we shall also add its source. The source of our project has source / this dot anything with TSX or TSX. We need to enclose this and as well enclose this. Now sometimes this works, but sometimes it might require you to use a direct source to it, where you actually go back to where the package is itself under UX, and then that anything between that folder and inside there ts.tsx. So let's have both of them available here for the sake of just having them available. Then I would love my project to have its styles outside of source. Yeah, I love it to be outside of source. Then this is really a big mistake that for some reason it's not going to delete itself, but ignore that. That's a mistake I made. I don't know why the browser won't do that, but when we refresh, that should be gone. We'll load the editor globals.css. I love the naming to name my things like this. And then we shall define it in our TSX so that we can import our we can be able to import our in our component options. We can be able to import that directory itself. So we shall head back to our vit and come here down, copy this path and head back to our vit and add it here. There is really no point in it being the other side since we shall be editing it here. So for here we shall use / since art is already taken by everything inside art is already taken. So styles / this. So since there's nothing going to be under styles, so we shall say styles globals.css. Close that and we reference where it is /globals.css. We directly call the reference for this, copy this as it is, come back here in our root directory, that is the main configuration for our TanStack router, and paste it here. Copy this, change it here, the main root part of our project for TanStack router. Paste that there, and then since we removed everything else, we are going to also remove this, and let's first install. Yep, install that. As I informed you, when the editor refreshes, it's going to remove that blank directory that we made a mistake on. Now we have to import our loader from at Ferrous UX components loader, and since it is a const, it's going to be enclosed. Not found, blah blah blah. This for now we are okay, and then we shall also copy this again. We go inside our route, and the root directory, which is the main directory, that's like layout in it's similar to layout in Next.js. So copy this, paste here, and I prefer this is always the last reference of it. I remember what this was, but when I remember I'll add on that. Then the loader at Ferrous UX component loader there. Then the sonar itself, we need to create it. We're going to create it under this. Just for now, we shall rearrange our structure for this to something else. So we go back, look for where sonar is. Come down here to manual and copy it as it is and paste it there. And then come back inside here, and we're going to re-import it from there. So we imported it from here. The reason why we didn't put it in our library is because I've never really gotten it to work from the library side, so I'm not going to try doing it from there. So as you see, this is our TanStack header from here, and as you remember, we already created this in our library side as a feature. So for now, let's leave it there as it is, and then removing the sign-in forms and this, remove all of them. The dashboard, remove that, and login page, remove that as well, and we shall only have the home page, which is the main page, the main index for our code here. Okay, and then when we head to our server side, we are going to need to rearrange some of these to fit our structure, which is going to be an RPC structure. But for now, we can run our code in order to initialize it. First close that. We come back inside here and create a run. So we have ban equals to true, so that when we are running, the code, instead of having ban / ban and then div, we can just write ban this and it automatically put it for us. Okay, our website has been built and our UI has been built. So here we are, and we have toast props error, which is something I forgot to expect to happen. This error, if I remember correctly, there is something I'm supposed to add to the type config, but this error is due to this being a type. And then we also have header, which has the errors in it for the user icon, blah 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 blah. And since we don't have dash, we can just rename that as that. Fresh. Then this URL part, and the reason that is happening is because of this. We shall carry this type and add it here. Don't ask me how I know it's because of this, but yep, as far as I remember, it was because of that, and that didn't solve the issue. Okay, so I've been wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it should be because of that. That's why I didn't want to use this, because it would really just not make sense at all, because most of the times these configurations are specific to the code itself, are very specific, and certain times I don't know why that above structure doesn't tend to work. So the definition of base URL should be the cause and also the reason why this isn't working, but I don't think so. Let's solve this and then can take a rest and start the next part of this video from there. But I'm pretty sure it's between that. It's something to do with that. Let's copy this as it is and can remove this. Yep. So if I'm trying to see what could have been the issue, could be, can't be base URL, because there we go. When we come declaration, then it should be within, this is exporting, Let's try to see one by one so that we figure out what exactly brought that issue. Base URL, it's there. It's between something to do with linting, whereby everything about linting is available. Remove this, remove all of this, and save, and that still doesn't fix it. So this could be the issue, but it's already available. Allow extensions. Okay. See, it's already available, but it's missing type. Let's see. I'm betting it was the type as I said. Before. Vit/client. And there it is. And that didn't solve the issue. Okay, so try this. Try 8. Let's do this first of all. Let's close this and then restart it again and restart that. Worked like a charm. And everything is working just fine. And then when we head to our server side, which is this, we still have errors and it's working just fine. Okay, we still have errors because we have not yet built our types from the server side of things. So cd app/server and that there, and let's head inside here so that we build the types at once, and then I can stop this video here because it's going to be really large for me to upload, and then make another one, and then I think I'll upload them at once. I prefer calling it cf type, and here we are going to have the latest Rango, which is 38 Drizzle, same thing. Then TypeScript catalog, as you remember. Then this is 4.1. Then beta auth 14. 15. Is it 15? Yeah. We don't really need this, to be honest, but for the sake of this, I just leave it there. Then 5. Oh no, it should be 8. Yeah, it's actually way higher, 9.8. Okay. Same thing here. Zod. Did we have Zod predefined our catalog. No, we didn't have, though we shall do that later on. Just going to do this, and there we have that. And when we run this, then install, there we have, and then here we shall run ban cfgen to generate the Cloudflare types, but we are going to get an error because, you know, we didn't add anything inside here. And here we're going to remove this as well as this, and there we have it. And we're going to change that from Ferrous server to something different, because here we call it server web. Okay, and it has a dist output, so basically we can just install this and remove the reference from it. So here we come here back to our packages, and we have server, so that we can have the types that are generated from it available for us. And someone beat us to the pawn, they already have the server part of it. Hopefully that doesn't dismantle our code. That's the part I hate about this, is whereby, so we shall call it server, and regenerate our types again. I don't think that's the correct one. Okay, we shall deal with this later on. We have something else to test, which is our component library has to be tested. It does work, but since the application doesn't really it refreshes so fast that we can't notice anything, so we need to test it by ourselves here by adding a button with hello world. Hello world, and import from button from @ferrous ux / component / button, and refresh it, and we have our button working just fine, as well as we can now import other things like badge, it's not yet importing it directly, but we should import it within time. Oh, okay, the reason it's not importing it directly is because, I mean, we imported the component itself. So let's do this. Come back here, and everything else will be imported from here. Oh crap, doesn't seem to want to import it. Okay, I think if we want to import everything else, let's make it here. Shall figure that out. that import part to import everything. So we have button, and we also wanted to infer to our badge. An avatar. So come back here and under UX we're going to import that, and then as well as badge. Oh, okay. See, so this will be fixed by just reloading everything else like this. Yep, it refused to do that for some weird reason. Let's remove button, let's remove badge and stick to button and see if it will fix that issue. And as well as button is not imported because we are importing TSX, and that is causing an issue. This works fine. Oh. Let's try this method here. I can't explain to you what it does because I don't know. So don't ask me. Don't ask me any questions. I don't know what it does. I just know that it does something with the exporting of the library from the disk side, exporting its the types. Same thing I would do with this, making the default. But also I think the reason that didn't work is because since our sources are being imported from source itself, it could have influenced that exact reaction as we expected it. Okay, as we didn't expect it, but could have influenced that as well. Okay, reload, everything works fine. The builds for the library are built like fast because it's watching the changes, so it rebuilds them fast in actual time. So the changes are being watched under div, and then builds it just. So let's head back here and try that once again. Okay, that didn't work. So for each, it will have its own. Okay, oh wait, I wanted to try this out again, the error that we found. So this error should be off. Nope, forget about it, we shall figure that out some other time. I'm not spending any more time onto this. Okay, since we have our library part of it, the only reason why I want us to separate this is because we don't want our code to be crowded with having packages available for different parts. So we have our beta auth available there for our beta auth instances, and we shall have our beta auth package going to be built here. We shall build our beta auth client right here, and then we shall set up our server side part of it in the next video that I'm going to make. For this video, we're going to end here, and then in the next video we're going to start from the server side of it, implementing the server part of our code. Okay, see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment if you wish to leave a comment. So we shall start from there, and this time we are going to go on fully completing everything.